Sup YouTube, welcome back to another video documenting my journey to legend. Consider subscribing and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. We're still going strong with the same exact team with a 60% win ratio in the Open Master League. Again, this is like my first time playing the Open Master League, so I'm still not yet super comfortable with some of the matchups, hence a lot of the losses, but I do think this team is stronger than I am able to make it. Plus, I'm a free-to-play player. I don't really invest too much money into this game. All the raids that I've ever done are from like premium passes that I have and stuff like that. So for the free-to-play player, this is the perfect team since most of these mons are readily available to the public and it's not too difficult to grind them. So if you're looking to play in the Master League and you only have enough dust for 3 mons, I would highly consider this team as it is super strong in my opinion. Before I get started with the battles, I want to give a huge shout out to Wasabi Gaming, who's rocking the exact same team. I hope you also climb with it, man. Thank you so much for your support on the videos. And without further delay, let's get into these battles. So again, same concept. I'm getting a little bit better at swapping out if I have a pretty neutral lead in order to bait out like a Groudon or a Kyogre or an Excadrill even, so that I'll have a better time. Here, I misplay this first matchup, but I wanted to showcase it because, again, I wasn't expecting anybody else to be running a Metagross. So I go for the superpower. I try to do one more to force them to throw, but instead of catching these hands, or the Meteor Mash in this case, I catch the Quake. And then they come in and they get a really juicy farm on Garchomp. And at this point, I should have known that this was Double Dragon. But I was still kind of unawares, and now I'm going to be cutting my underwear. I shield up the Outrage, and I'm gonna throw just before, or actually no, I throw on the CMP. I forgot that Dragonite won CMP, so I kind of got lucky here. But they do get off their move, and as soon as I shield this, it's GG's. Because all the Dragonite needs to build up to is a superpower in order to take out my Excadrill, and then they can even overfarm a little bit more since they can tank a Rock Slide. And here I should have swapped out immediately. I should have gotten an energy lead on the Excadrill in order to give me some sort of win potential, because it would have forced them to throw energy faster, and possibly I would have been able to outpace the Metagross in the back since it was energy dry to a superpower. So I think that was my Dragonite was my win condition here, and I totally squandered it. Either in the beginning I should have baited out the Garchomp with the Metagross and allowed Excadrill to sweep in the back and not take as much damage, or not use as much shields with the Garchomp and the Dragonite matchup. Here I make a pretty nice catch onto the Dragon Claw, but my opponent is going to stay in and full send the superpower. Again, I don't need to shield this, so I'm just going to tank it and hope that I can misalign the timers. Here I'm going to go straight for the Earthquake, no baiting. Hopefully they call it. They don't. They decide to bait it, they decide to shield it, and they're able to farm me down, which is pretty nasty. I think I'm going to come in with Dragonite, tank a move, and then my switch timer is going to be up. And by tank a move, I mean shielded. Because Meteor Mash is going to hurt like a bitch. And here, I'm going to try to catch the next Meteor Mash. I figured they would probably try to throw before I got my superpower off. And now they're going to build up. And I wait a turn so that they couldn't catch, and they still catch. Luckily, I am able to outpace. But here, I think my opponent should have... If they shield that, then I probably get off enough superpower damage against the Metagross to take it out with the Dragonite. And at this point, I am kind of relying on the Dragonite. I do bait because they still have a whole other Pokemon in the back. And I'm going to throw just before they reach their next move. I figure it's the Mirror Team, and in comes the Excadrill. And I'm going to build up to the back-to-back, and then I'm going to bait. Because I figure if I'm at the back-to-back, they have no reason not to shield this, and then I can go for a full superpower instead of a debuffed one, which I wasn't sure would KO. And if it didn't, they were at the back-to-back Rock Slide, so I would have lost. Groudon is a pretty good lead, but the reason I left this in is because they swap into a Mewtwo, and instead of... So at level 50, you can tank a Shadow Ball, and they shouldn't be able to farm you down. But I think in the 2 shields, they might. So what I should have done here was they're going to allow me to get to this Meteor Mash. I should have shielded this Psy Strike, or the first move, whichever one, and gotten their second shield. because Dragonite up a shield, I would have been able to tank this move. I would have gotten a few more Meteor Mash bullet punches off on this thing, even though it would have farmed up to a Side Strike. But I would have been able to take it out, and even that amount of damage would have allowed me to not tank a second Side Strike. So I would have shielded one and hopefully been able to farm down. But I would have been able to get that superpower off on that Dialga, and that would have been crucial because I'm going to get some drill runs off on this Groudon. And if I still had the shield, I would have been able to farm the... also here I make another misplay. I didn't realize I was at the drill run, so I should have just thrown it immediately in order to farm down with Dragonite and be able to come out with a superpower, because the Dialga doesn't have any moves. So had I gotten a superpower off on the Dialga, if I had taken that other shield from the Mewtwo, I think I would have been able to flip that. So I misplayed the mid game. They were ahead on energy, so I should have known that they weren't going to bait. But, you know, I'm stingy with my shields, and because of that, I get handed my ass to me. Landorus, this is a pretty uncomfortable lead. You lose the zeros, and you win all other shield scenarios, so my opponent is going to play out the zeros. And they're not going to make it to a Stone Edge. This is just a superpower. If you're counting correctly, you won't need to shield. And here, in order to get their second shield, I should have thrown the superpower. I should have thrown that energy. And again, I try to overfarm a little bit and wait, but they still catch. And now they have a Yveltal in the back with 2 shields. And I don't know what I'm going to do. It's looking pretty dire. I should have thrown my Rock Slide already, but like a noob, I overfarm. I also was kind of forcing them to throw energy, so that was also in the back of my mind. Here I'm gonna... Ah, man, I was hoping that I would throw 2 Dragon Breaths and throw the move, but instead the game cucks me, and now they have a full Dark Pulse in the back, because I allowed that move to sneak through, like an idiot. Here I can tank any one move, so I'm not afraid of it. They do full send the Draco. I'm gonna full send the Earthquake. Hopefully they don't, I tried to undercharge it, but it's not gonna work out. And here they are 1 away, exactly 1 away. They are at the back-to-back. I need to hope this Dragon Breath KOs, and it just barely does. I misplayed that so poorly, and we somehow still managed to catch a win. Here I'm gonna lose this game because I swap into Excadrill. Everyone is expecting an Excadrill, right? It's a really strong team. It's a really strong Pokemon in the Open Master League because it covers Dialga and it covers Zacian. It covers a few other Mons. So I should have swapped into Metagross. And at least then, I might have been able to outpace before they got to a Precipice Blades and gotten some Meteor Mash damage off on it. And you're going to see that I'm going to need it. And here I figured, okay, they're probably going to go for the Precipice Blade so I can shield. But they bait me like a freaking savage. What the hell? What a madman. Double resisted moves, or at least single resisted on the Fire Punch. But yeah, I completely miscalled that. They come back in with a Rayquaza, and they're going to save 2 shields for the Mon in the back. And had I had the Excadrill, this would have been a completely different story. They have no reason to bait. They're up 2 shields. So I was also sort of like giving up. I should have top left it a minute, but you know, just in the off chance, try to play to your win con, but I lost everything there. Here I'm going to tank a Rock Slide on the from this Melmetal, and then full send the superpower and dip. And what I should be dipping into, because I'm going to get a shield from this, is the Excadrill. But again, I dip into the Melmetal, the Metagross, and this is going to cost me because they're going to bring in a Giratina. If I was able to bait out the Giratina with the Excadrill, you're going to see that I would have been in a much better position. I mean, the Ominous Wind kind of KOs me from there, which is kind of sad. I thought maybe I would survive a little bit. I mean, it's better off that I don't. But here they're going to make it to a move. And I don't know if I should have CMP'd, or if I would have been able to CMP, or if I would have been a little behind. But because I use that shield, it's going to cost me. Because they bring in the Lugia. And this damage does absolutely jack all to Luigi. And then I swap in the Excadrill, but I'm going to have to shield a move. And honestly, now in hindsight, they have no reason to bait because they can superpower me and win. So I should have shielded this Aeroblast because it would have left me with enough potential to overfarm. to overfarm before they bring in the Melmetal, and I might have been able to get enough moves off on it and then come in with Dragonite and possibly build up to a superpower. I know I was banking on a lot, but my initial mistake was not swapping in the Excadrill, using a shield on the superpower, and then whittling down the Giratina. So that would have been a much better play, and then I would have had Metagross in the back. They could have brought in the Melmetal, but they would have had to superpower me, at which point a couple Meteor Mashes would have taken that out, and I would have been in a much better position. Here, I CMP tied on the second move because my opponent overfarmed, and I didn't realize actually that Excadrill wins CMP. And I think they built up to the high horsepower, so I am going to shield it, and they bring in a Gyarados. And honestly, because I was ahead on energy, I should have thrown the Meteor Mash. Or attempted to catch a Crunch on the Dragonite. But honestly, I should have thrown the Meteor Mash and caught a Crunch anyway. And here, I figured that I should get this damage off, but I thought they'd come in with the Mammo, but instead they come in with Mewtwo. And again, now I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage. I am up energy, so you could argue that again, I should have shielded. Somebody in the comments in a previous video told me, shield your moves, and yet I refuse. I, for some reason, refuse to shield anything because I'm just hoping that people bait. But I don't know, I guess you reach a certain elo and people no longer are no longer as willing to bait. And because of that, I catch those hands. But we did climb 75 points. Again, a 60% win ratio with this team. I think this team is really solid. I'm going to keep playing this team all through the weekend, but I would like to showcase some of your battles. So definitely submit some down below. Join the Discord. It's a really fun place. So many cool people in there. We're bullshitting half the time, but it's a lot of fun. And I will catch you in that next video. Peace.